Fishing's better when you share the experience. Meet new fishing partners through the Co-Angler app. Offer trips, request trips, connect with anglers in your area, and share the cost. Make every trip more affordable and more fun. Co-Angler, connecting anglers one trip at a time.
Welcome to Beyond a Gate, a podcast sharing the grit, growth, and spirit of rural life. From fields to front porches, this is where the heart of agriculture comes to life. Today we go beyond the gate with the quintessential definition of a farmer, a dedicated, hardworking dairyman and poultry producer, Justin Raef. Justin, thanks for joining me in the studio and letting me drag you in.
Yeah. That's pretty much what you had to do.
That's pretty much what I had to do.
Yep.
Justin and I both call Lebanon, Missouri home, but we met later in life through the Missouri Farm Bureau and the Lee County Farm Bureau, but we're going to jump into that later. I just want to we're going to dive deep into farming, but give me an overview of the operation.
Our operation is basically a dairy operation and a poultry operation, which we produce eggs. So we milk cows. How
many cows are you milking?
We're milking about 80 cows right now. Mm-hmm. We got about 20,000 laying hens in our barn. We produce about 17,000 to 18,000 eggs average throughout the flock per day. And but that's an overview. We grow our own feed other than our grains. Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
So full-time, part-time on the farm?
Full-time.
Full-time. And what does that mean? So, in our world, in the ag world, I farm.
Yep.
But I have off-the-job income. Mm-hmm. Kevin and I, my parents, his parents, both sets of my grandparents. We'd have to go back to my great-grandparents before anyone on either sides of the family were full-time farmers. Yep. And I won't ask your age. You're younger than me,
yep.
But you're a young farmer.
Yep.
It's rare.
Yep. Very
for
rare.
You and your wife both to be full-time on the farm.
My wife is not full-time.
Not full-time. Okay.
Yep.
She doesn't want to spend all day, every day with you.
Not every day, no. She says that it's easier to work for where she works.
Someone
she works
else.
at Mountain Country Propane.
Uh-huh.
She's the office manager there. And she says it's easier to go to work there than it is to work for me sometimes. So
Amen.
Yeah.
So now you're farming the land that your father and
my great-great-grandparents, it'd be my great-great-grandparents started.
So definitely a Century Farm.
Yes, it is a Century Farm.
And brag on your hat.
Yeah, my hat. I had some hats made, so life's just milk and eggs at our place. So 1916.
1916. So 2026 is kind of a big year for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a holiday, or not a holiday, anniversary year.
Yeah.
So how many generations did that? You said great?
Yep, great.
Great.
So I'd be the 5th generation on that farm.
On the same land.
Yep.
Dairy the whole time?
I have dairy. Yes, dairy. Yeah, my great-grandparents and my great-grandparents is actually who started it. Mm-hmm. My great-great-grandparents who bought the farm. But my great-grandparents started the dairy. My grandpa carried it on, and then here I am still milking cows today.
Still milking cows.
Yep.
Any history, any family stories that have been passed down of those early years for your great-grandparents?
No, not really. I know that I've heard a lot of. It was hard times back in the day, and I mean, just lived off the land. They did a little bit of everything. They had dairy, they had hogs, they had sheep, they had beef cows, they had chickens, they had everything. I mean.
And your farm is just north of Lebanon?
Yep,
you call
just
that
northwest of Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Lee County, Wright County, you see big dairy counties.
That was big dairy. It's kind of the Milky Way from Lebanon, Missouri, all the way down to Mountain Grove, maybe even further south than that a little bit. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, that's kind of the Milky Way.
I've heard that. I love that.
Yeah.
We'll talk later about the dairy industry as a whole because it's hard.
Yep.
Did you always want to be a farmer?
Yes.
Yes.
That's all I ever dreamed about. When I was growing up, I mean, going to the barn with Grandpa, that was the highlight of my summer and weekends and stuff like that. My dad worked off the farm, so he was the part-time man, I guess you'd say, on the farm to help Grandpa. So when Grandpa had to go somewhere to a meeting or anywhere, it's like Dad was the one that took over and, kind of ran it. So, but no, like I said, that's, yeah.
So you tell me about young Justin.
Young Justin, I was ornery.
You're still on.
Yeah. Well, all through school, like I said, I was kind of an antsy little guy. I was into everything, a lot of mischief. Like I said, I was passionate about milking cows. I can remember waking up early in the morning before Mom and Dad and riding my bicycle 2.5 miles down the road to the milk barn.
At what age do you remember that?
Like I said, if it was riding a bike, and I had to be probably 8, 9, something like that, And,
no one had to wake you up.
No, nobody. I'd set my alarm. I had a big alarm clock with the big bells on top.
Yep.
And that thing is loud. And like I said, you'd set that, and you'd sneak out, and you'd run to the milk barn. And then you'd get there, and then Grandpa would show up a little bit later. I'd usually beat Grandpa there. Yeah, and Grandpa would be like, "What are you doing here?" And I'd already have a round of cows or something through, before he'd get there. And so, yeah.
That is fascinating because it's hard to get kids out of bed these days.
Mm-hmm.
But you beat Grandpa. What was that drive then at that young age of 8?
I really don't know. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. I loved the lifestyle a lot. I mean, that was what I used to get in trouble for, was doing things without adult supervision. I mean, I can remember. Grandpa was supposed to be doing hay one day, and he's like, "When I get done with chores, I'll be down." And I already raked one field, and I thought, well, I'll just jump on the baler and bale it. So when Grandpa got there, it was already done, which he was kind of aggravated, but he was also probably kind of like impressed. So it's like, well, but I don't know. I just always had that drive.
So you go to high school. Involved in FFA, other curricular activities?
I was very heavily involved in FFA. Mm-hmm. I was started out freshman. I was the freshman president or whatever, and then moved on to like sophomore vice, and then junior year was vice president, and then I was president my senior year. Also, I built a trailer in Ag Mech. Mm-hmm. I had 2 very good ag teachers, Sam Lauer and Keith Davis.
Legends,
mm-hmm. Yes. They was the elites, no doubt.
Yep.
But I built a trailer in there, and that was my pride and joy. Are you
still using the
We still use that trailer today.
It's held.
And but we took it to all the fairs, all the shows, mm-hmm. and it won every fair that we took it to, including the state fair, the Ag Mechanics Project. So that was the year that they built the new ag facility.
The new FFA
So
barn,
they got
Missouri
to put
State
my
Fair.
trailer right up there on front and center.
What year did you graduate high school?
2005.
Okay, yeah,
Yep.
so okay.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that was the year that the new building was put in.
Yep.
Yep.
So, what made you? Okay, we've talked about succession planning on the
mm-hmm.
show, and passing down the reins.
Yep.
I'm sure as you got older,
mm-hmm.
you didn't, get in trouble for finishing the hayfield during hay season, but your responsibilities changed.
Yep.
So tell me, like, how did your role on the farm change as you got older?
Well, out of high school, we'll just kind of go back to that that timeline. But right out of high school, my mom and my dad, they set you down. They tell you need to do something, make money. And so you're like, I wanted to milk cows, but it's like, well, I'm going to have to talk to Grandpa, see if that's an option, and which that was kind of intimidating. You're like, I don't know if I want to, ask that question yet or not. So I went and worked at Durham mm-hmm. for probably 4 months, 5 months, something like that, mm-hmm. right out of high school. And
working on the line?
Yep. Well, I welded.
Okay.
Yep.
So those skills that you
skill
came in as a skilled laborer.
From the trailer and stuff, yes. They hired me on the spot,
mm-hmm.
Which my dad worked there for 30 plus years.
Okay.
And so that helped out. And we went and did that for a little bit, for 4 or 5 months, and I dreamed of milking cows still. Like I said, that was just my passion. And we went to a Christmas party, and I won a day off with pay, like it was kind of one of the deals. And people was all like, I've worked here 20 years and I've never got a day off with pay. Yeah, I've been there 4 months, And
that's a big deal.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, and so I was like, I think I'm going to use that. There's a dairy sale coming up. So I was like, I'm going to go to that dairy sale. So I used that day off with pay to go to the dairy sale.
To pay for the calves.
And I went to the dairy sale, kind of just seeing what, what things were going for. And I kind of made it up in my mind that I was going to quit and I'm going to milk cows. And I can remember walking into work one morning with my dad, and I said, Dad, I was like, I think I'm going to quit today, or I think I'm going to put in my notice. And he's like, oh, don't do that. He's like, we'll talk about it tonight when we get home. And I went in straight in there and told my boss that day, I was like, yeah, this will be my last week. I think I'm going to milk cows, so.
And he's like that crazy.
Yeah, I think everybody thought I was crazy. I had a lot of people tell me, "It's like you're nuts. Like, why would you do that?"
Your dad saw the farm crisis of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your grandpa did too.
Yeah.
But he was, that is likely why your dad's like, I can get a job in town.
Yeah.
And I can always pay my bills.
Yep. That's
always have food on my table.
Yep.
And interest rates were, double digits,
yeah.
and that was a scary time.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'd probably tell your own son that too. You don't want to be a dairy farmer.
Yeah. I've got a couple nephews right now that they want to do it, but it's just like you don't want them to go through the struggles and all the hurdles that you had to do. And I'm still not out of the woodwork yet. I mean, I'm still paying debt and trying to make a go myself, but. I hope that I can look back one day and it's all worth it.
It will be. It will be. So you quit your job.
Quit my job.
Bought some cows.
I bought some cows. I took a loan out. I think my first loan was $52,500.
For an 18-year-old?
I had been
maybe 19.
19. I think I just turned 19. And I bought 31 milk cows from a dairy farm in Morgan, Missouri. Holsteins. And,
that's what everyone's milk in your family.
Yep, everybody's milked Holsteins. And I did have a few, a handful with Grandpa and stuff, so I was able to do that. I think when I actually started shipping milk, I had 36 cows is what it was.
And you're milking alongside Grandpa?
Well, nope.
Okay.
I actually went in with my brother. Yeah, I went in with my brother-in-law.
Okay.
So my brother-in-law and stuff out on the other side of town, me and him rented a barn. He had already been milking there previously. And we rented a barn and milked together from 2006 to 2011. Now, them was kind of some hard times too, which it's always hard times in dairy. It seems like it's always. But like 2006, I want to say milk was $14 a hundred, and right at that or something. Mm-hmm. And then the next year it kind of dropped off, slumped off to probably, 12. And then I'm pretty sure it was 08. Like I said, don't quote me on this because I don't know.
We had the crash in 08.
Yeah, and I think 08 it hit $9 a hundred there for a check or two, and it's like, holy cow. And I can remember all the old guys saying, save your money when milk was higher at that time. It's like, because it's going to crash. Well, I didn't, know at the time because they had seen it before, but I hadn't seen it. And which, I muddled through, I managed through, and which I didn't have a lot of debt, a lot of overhead, so that's how I muddled through it. Mm-hmm. And then in 2010, I got the opportunity to buy the farm that is across the road from my parents, which it was an old dairy farm. The last time they'd milked in that barn was in 1977. They milked 2 cows at a time in that barn.
Oh, old stanchion.
And so it's an old barn. It was actually a pit.
Okay.
It actually had a pit, and I want to say we found plans in the house when we cleaned it out, and I think the plans was stamped 1948. Wow. So it was, that was a pretty big deal for 1948 to have a pit instead of a flat barn.
What did you grow up milking in your grandpa's?
Grandpa's was a 3 bypass.
Okay.
Is what it was. It was pit
bypass.
Barn.
Describe bypass.
Bypass is where basically each individual cow has her own stall, and so when she walks in, you open a gate. She walks in to where the feeder is, and then the other cow can bypass her if she gets done before the other one. There's like an alleyway on the other side of the cow.
Okay.
So, yep.
But still a pit.
But it's still a pit, yep.
Okay.
So I thought, well, we milked in a 4-on-a-side herringbone where I rented, that farm that I rented. So I thought, well, it's like, I don't know what I can do with this old barn. I was like, well, we're going to have to do something, because I don't need to be paying rent out here. We rented 60 acres is what we started with in that milk barn. And then trying to buy a farm out here on this side of town. The first year I growed corn and sorghum, and I bought a corn picker, and I hadn't bought a chopper yet. And the sorghum, I was probably going to have my neighbor chop it, Clay Hempel. And my corn got blowed down that year. But I was going to pick that for a cash crop, and then I was going to chop my sorghum, and that was kind of going to, well, then my corn got blowed down that year.
Switch that idea.
Yeah, and so I was like, well, I'll just buy a chopper, and I sold my picker to my neighbor and bought a chopper and decided I was going to chop, and it was fun. Like I said, we enjoyed it. It was a learning curve, and I think I worked on that chopper more than I got chopped, seemed like, but we meddled through it. Clay got to feeling sorry for me over there, so he came over and helped me chop my corn. And
that's what good neighbors do.
Yeah. So, the whole neighborhood really got involved, honestly. It's like we had all kinds of help, so, yeah.
So that gets you through, moving back to the home place.
Moving back to the home place, yep. I'm back at the home place, and 2010 is when I bought that farm, and I redid the barn. It took me 2 years to get the milk barn up and going, so 2012 was whenever I started milking there, July of 2012. And everybody in our area, everybody remembers 2012 because it was a drought. Yeah. And it was like, of all times for me to be switching gears and doing stuff, and it was just like, but I muddled through again. Like I said, I made it through.
How your grandpa, what role did he play during that time? Because he was your mentor.
Grandpa, while I was milking on the other side of town, Grandpa was milking his cows, of course, and which he was kind of at that retirement age and was kind of, we had talked about maybe moving the milk cows there, but my grandpa also has beef cattle, so it was like he was going to transition from dairy to more beef, and so he really needed the land for more beef cows. So it was like, how are we going to make this work? If and on top of that, the farm that I bought is the farm that he rented for beef cows. So it was like, I'm taking land away from Grandpa if I'm coming back. And but it all worked out, like I said. But and expansion, I owned that property down there. So if you're going to spend money on it, for banking purposes and stuff, you need to own the property that you're doing that on, or you need a 99-year lease or something, So, and I've got family, and we didn't know how that was going to turn out, on that land up there. But so Grandpa, back to your question about Grandpa, he quit milking in 2011, same year as my brother-in-law. My grandpa and my brother-in-law sold out the same week. One went to Norwood on Thursday, and one went to Springfield on a Tuesday. It was just back to back. So it was kind of a sad time then. It was in like March of 2011 is when they sold out. But by that time, I'd already made up my mind that I was going to probably be moving out there. So I think that's what kind of kept Grandpa uplifted, and it's like, well, it's like we're still going to be milking cows out here. It's just Justin's going to be doing it. And so he helped me on the barn. We did a lot of work on the barn. Him and my dad both helped me. We started milking cows in that barn July 16th of 2012, and it was hot. Oh, it was hot that day.
I remember that July.
Yeah, it was a hot day.
Everything was brown and
it was terrible.
Dead.
Yeah. So we did that, and then we milked probably 50, 60 cows probably at that time. And then in 2016, I believe is what it was, my in-laws decided to sell out because my in-laws was, they dairy farmed their whole lives too. So we got the opportunity to buy some cows from them, and we ended up milking like 140 cows and stuff, like 100 with my heifers and everything like that. We bought some cows from them and really ramped production up, And that's when my wife was home still and helping me, and we was working our tails off. And we had high school boys helping us. And
but I mean, like, you're milking. You had 140. How many are you milking a day? Or you're milking 140?
We got up to milking 140 at one time.
How long does it take you? I don't know how many you're milking at a time.
10 at a time. 10 at a time.
So how long is it taking you to milk
We can turn about, if you're really pushing it, about 40 cows an hour. Mm-hmm. And that's because we got a parallel rapid exit. So where our cows, we don't have to wait for them to single file walk out. Mm-hmm. They come in single file, but they blow out the barn, all at one time. So as soon as that last cow walks out, you can shut the gates, and if you got another person in there, they're spraying the floor out. Mm-hmm. Somebody else is putting new cows in, and it's like, now you got to hustle to get them 40 cows through. But like I said, we can do 40 cows an hour. But we was milking, we was in that
half
barn
your day,
half
every
a day
single
milking,
day, 7 days a week.
Which I had, like I said, I had high school help, at that time, we was living in that barn a lot. Mm-hmm. And so we did that for a while. And then in 2018, my in-laws built 2 chicken barns. Mm-hmm. So they did that. We kind of watched and learned and, just looking from the sidelines, like, should we do something like this? And in 2018, a contract came available. 2 contracts came available.
Now explain that, because it becomes available. What does that mean?
Basically, the egg company, the way it is since it's integrated or whatever, they won't build another barn unless there's a need for it. That way it controls the supply and demand. So if a contract comes available, you kind of want to jump on it, because it's like, well, I may not get another chance. It's like, so it's like 2 contracts came available, and I accepted one, and my neighbor accepted one, the one that I'm always toying with on TikTok.
We'll get to TikTok. Yeah. So who's that neighbor?
John Sandwell.
Oh, we'll talk about Sandwell later.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Shout out. But so we ended up shifting gears a little bit, and I remember me and my wife, stress levels was running high. Dairy wasn't doing the best. That's why we decided we was kind of going to transition to something else. A lot of dairies will go beef, but because poultry production is similar to dairy production. I know that's not very, very. But you're married to the farm. Yep. You're used to that type of lifestyle, but it's easier. Yep. I mean, you're still collecting eggs every day, or depending on what poultry you're doing. So it's very common for dairies to have houses. Yep. Yes. So we ended up doing it. We started building the barn in, I guess it would have been, 2018 sometime, and it was a very, very wet year. Mm-hmm. And so we built our barn. Hostettlers is who built our barn. They put all of our equipment in. And Sandwall, another story about Sandwalls, they started the dirt work on his first.
Of course.
And he was going on vacation, going to Las Vegas or something. And I had to go over and work and pack, and me and my grandpa both went over there and worked, trying to get his barn in and get that set up, and got his concrete poured. And then when it came to mine, when they moved to mine, it wouldn't stop raining. I mean, we dealt with mud. I had to buy that great big old rip-rap rock or whatever it was to put under my barn, where JJ just got to use, I call him JJ. That's John Michael, yeah. But he only had to put that little chat
down. You're investing way more.
I had to put way more money.
And you're having to. This is you're building the barn. You own the land. You own the barn.
Yes.
The contract is only for the birds. So any poultry producer, they have a huge startup cost. Correct.
When I started, I had to build the building. I had to buy the birds, and I had to buy the feed. I had a buy-sell contract.
Oh, okay.
So
they're all a little different.
I had 1.1 million in mind by the time it was done.
That's scary.
And yes, it was very,
I mean, you know that. I don't need to tell you that.
But so whenever we got it, let me go back up, I guess. I got to finish my story about Sandwell. Then whenever I started mine, the mud and the muck was terrible. I mean, it just drug on and on. Well, we're on a time crunch because birds are coming December 29th. And
Merry
there's no
Christmas.
ifs, ands, or buts because they're already pushed back as long as they can because once they get to a certain week, like a certain age, they have to ship them out because they're going to start laying eggs. So we did everything we could to get that thing done. Like I said, spent way more money than what we intended on. I mean, we had to go back and get more money to finish it because
And
of
that's
the
why your
extra
relationship with the banker is so
yeah.
important.
Oh, yeah. But it was really funny because old Sandoval, whenever he got back from vacation, the weather had turned and changed, and it was cold, and that little roller didn't have a cab. And so I was running a dump truck in the heat, and he is out there
Surgeon
running
Raef.
that, all wrapped up, bundled up. But we got the barns done, and just in that time, I got a phone call from a gentleman and asked if I wanted to sell my milk cows. And I was like, at the time, I didn't know. But it's also getting very stressful, and it's like, I'm going to have to learn how to do all this stuff. It was a big change. And I had a guy come look at him. I was like, it ain't going to hurt for him to come look. The guy came and looked at the cows and decided he was interested. And he's like, can I come back next week? And I was like, yeah. So he took my DHI records and everything and checked it.
What are those?
That is our records on each individual cow. That tells, how many pounds of milk she gives, what her butter fat is, kind of keeps
pedigree.
everything. It's like keeps a rolling herd average, for the whole herd, per cow, everything. I mean, it tells everything about them. And so they studied that, and they came back and they said, yeah, we want to take them. And so we're right here at crunch time. This is December. This is before Christmas. And birds are coming on 29th. They finally, the mail or the check came, and we loaded milk cows out on December 28th. I was out of the dairy business on December 28th, and I was in the poultry business on December 29th.
Well, you talk about, opportunities not knocking twice.
Yeah.
That day that contract came open, you don't know if it's going to come again.
Yeah.
And you don't have people calling you up on the phone wanting to buy your entire herd every day.
Yeah, it all worked out. Like I said, I guess that's God's plan. So, yeah. But, so like I said, we started our endeavors in the poultry business. Now, I kept all of my heifers. I kept all of my young stock.
Okay.
So we, a few months later, it's like they told me, the co-op that I shipped to told me, it's like, you've got a year to make up your mind if you're going to milk those cows or not. And I kind of hem-hawed around. But
that's your contract with the co-op on the dairy side. That's where your milk's going to every day. And
we ship to DFAs.
DFA, okay.
We ship to them. And so I was like, well, I'll hem-haw around, decide if I'm going to go back in the dairy business. Well, it's short days, and, it gets dark early. Well, you're used to being out till 9 o'clock at night, doing chores. And then you collect eggs at 4 o'clock, and it takes you an hour and a half, 2 hours at the most, and you're done. Boy, I went stir crazy. And I told my wife, it's like, if I don't go back milking cows, I'm going to have to build a shop to keep me entertained, because I'm going to do one or the other. And
well, when you were 8 years old,
yeah,
sneaking out of your home to go milk cows, it's kind of in your blood.
Yeah, I guess so. So we went back to milking cows, and kind of gave us that little bit of time to do some work at the milk barn, pour some concrete. We built a feeding floor. So it really worked out. Like I said, it was a blessing, really. And then here we are today. Now we're just doing milk and eggs. So.
Milk and eggs. So take me through a day in a life on the farm on the dairy side, and then we'll do a day in a life on the egg side.
Okay. Well, in the morning, I wake up about 5 o'clock in the morning. We try to have milkers put on by 6. So I get up, and my nephews, if they're there and stuff, they'll help me. We'll just kind of tag team it. But you get up, you go out, you get the cows in, you set your barn up. Usually you sanitize your barn while you're getting the cows up. You come back, you set the barn up. You put the pipeline in the tank, you run the cows through, you milk them, you wipe them, you spray them, you prep them, get them all prepped and everything.
This is when you're sanitizing the teats.
Sanitizing everything. It's all about cleanliness. So it's like, so we get them all clean, prepped, ready to go. We milk them. And as soon as we get done milking, we shut the milkers down And if you're by yourself, you go push up feed, whatever feed you got and stuff that's out there, you push up your feed. And then if there's enough you need to pick up for refusals or whatever, you scoop that up and then you put out fresh. But usually they have leftover feed from the night before because you fill them up to where if they come up at night, they can eat. So you push up feed and then you put out more feed if they need it. And just depending on the time of the year. Wintertime, it's kind of like being in a refrigerator.
Yep.
Stuff keeps longer, and in the summertime, you want to get it out of there because toxins grow.
Well, and let's talk about your feedstuffs.
Yep.
What are they eating?
Right now, they're eating corn silage, they're eating triticale haylage, and they're eating a feed from Purina Mills that's blended, formulated to the forages that I have.
And so kind of walking us through the nutrient value of each and the purpose and the time of year. I mean, like it's cold, milking.
In the cold, they need a high energy diet, in which corn silage is usually a high energy. It's not it's not a protein, so that's why you have to use a grain source, from something. Usually it's bean meal or something like that, something high in protein to balance that diet out. So, but like I said, in the wintertime, high energy diet's what they need because they're producing a lot of milk, and they got to use that to keep warm. That's how they keep warm. So
go ahead.
So after you get that done, it's bottle calf feeding time.
So okay, what time are you done milking?
Usually done milking. Like right now, we're done 8 o'clock.
So two solid hours.
2 hours of milking and clean up, and then it's baby calf feeding time. So
how many calves at a time are you?
It changes all the time and stuff. We've had all the way up to 50 calves at once. To like here recently, we've had about 23, something like that. That's kind of been our average. 20, somewhere in there. That's our average. But yeah, and we start calving in September, and then we will calve all the way to like May 15th because I don't want no calves in the summer. And main reason is, if you're pregnant and it's hot and it's humid and there's flies, it's like that can't, the stress, it's like
it's not healthy for anyone.
Nobody, even including me, because I'm hot and sweaty and
grumpy.
Out there, grumpy, trying to pull a calf, and I need to be in the field or something. So it's like that helps us to where we can get to the field. We have no calves to feed. Stuff like that. So
September to May, you're calving, and
it seems like it goes in waves. Like we'll have a group here, and then we'll kind of be done for a little bit, and then we'll have another group. And
So you're bottle feeding around 8 a.m., and you're mixing every single bottle.
We mix every bottle and stuff. Yep, and then we go feed the babies.
Are you milk replacer, or are you going back in? Okay.
We use milk replacer.
Okay.
Yep, because it supposedly has all the bells and whistles and everything.
All the nutrients they need.
It's consistent. It's the same stuff. And so, that way if there's a cow or something like that, if you're using pale milk, usually the pale milk is a cow that can't go in the tank. So why, feed your baby calves something that's, you can get it out of the tank, but you're just taking it out of your paycheck, And if you do the math, the milk replacer now, way milk prices is right now, it might be pretty tight, but if milk's decent, it usually comes up a little cheaper.
Okay.
So, yep.
Okay. So you fed the babies, now what?
Fed the babies, and then usually, which now I guess I forgot, we do check our dry cows first thing in the morning.
Okay.
Going back, I forgot about that.
No, it's okay.
But,
they're not as important, they're dry cows.
Well, they are. They kind of are important because if you have one that's your future,
Yes,
it's like so. But, so we get done with the baby calves, and then, and we've got our feeding and stuff like that done. Then it's usually time to go to the chicken barn. So... Yep.
And you're collecting eggs how many days or how many times a day?
Twice.
Okay.
We milk twice a day, and we collect eggs twice a day.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're going to collect eggs. What does that process look like?
Well, we walk in. Usually, Grandpa's there. He's already
got something to do. Is he on the payroll?
Or my mom, yes. And my mom, she helps a lot with that. And so you walk in and usually get greeted by Grandpa, and he's already. He doesn't
slept in because he's not milking anymore.
He doesn't do the technical stuff like setting up the machine. So somebody has to go up and set the machine up, get the egg counter ready because he doesn't do technology. But he can if he can just push the button and it does everything,
Runs the
he's
belt.
okay. So I walk in. Grandpa's usually already got a couple thousand eggs packed, and we'll sit there and shoot the bull for a little bit. And if everything's looking good, then I'll go walk the barn. And so then you booty up before you go to the back.
Biosecurity is extremely important.
It is very important with the chicken barn because, I mean, whatever you track in there is, it can be catastrophic. I mean, one little thing that's on, you step through bird poo that's infected and walk in there. If you don't booty up or sanitize, it could,
The whole flock.
the whole flock could be, just dead. And that's a terrible feeling when birds start dying because you can't figure it out. You can't figure it out fast enough. It's a bad feeling. So we walk the floor. We check the feeders. You got to make sure all the feeders are running correctly. We usually pick up about 90 to 100 floor eggs in the morning. And
that would be ones that were laid not where they're supposed to be laid.
Yeah, like I said, we try in the beginning. We train them to go to the nest boxes.
Okay.
So we got nest box lights, and so then the lights come on in the house, kind of like a sunrise. They start out dim and they get brighter, but the nest light box or the nest box lights come on before that to attract the birds to the nest. And so then we walk our floor to where the birds jump up on the slats, and then they want to go to the nest boxes where it's safe. They feel safe. So in the beginning, it's a training period. But yes, the floor eggs, like you said, is the ones that do not make it where they should be to get on the conveyor and come through like they should. So that is kind of grunt work. And somebody, usually my mom or me or the boys or somebody like that does that.
So I'm very experienced in egg collecting. In high school, shout out to Tanya, one of my best friends in high school. They had a dairy, and they also converted to beef, but they had laying houses. And so in elementary school, I thought it was fun. So collect eggs often. At that point, this would have been like late 90s. I mean, we're handling every single egg. Are you still handling every single egg?
No.
Okay.
No.
Take me through the technology because I know it's evolved.
We have 4 conveyors that run the full length of the barn, and that's 4 rows of nest boxes, the full length of the barn. So we have 2 on the bottom and 2 on top. And so the birds get in the nest boxes, they lay their eggs, and the nest boxes are on like a cam, and they pivot. So they close at night.
So they can't lay
and they can't lay eggs at night, which they don't lay at night. And then they open up in the morning, and the lights come on, and that draws them into the nest boxes. Well, at night, whenever the nest box is closed, that rolls whatever eggs, and they're very slow, so they ain't like crashing, but they close, and that rolls them onto a conveyor belt, which normally they're on a slant, so they kind of roll, and it's the floor of the nest boxes is like that green-looking rubber carpet. It's like, soft, it's got little fingers.
Little turfy?
Yeah, like little turf stuff. And that's what they lay the eggs on. That way it's soft. So as they roll, they're not, hitting anything hard, and it kind of slows them down. So the nest boxes close. The eggs roll onto the conveyor belt. And then when we turn the machine on, it runs the conveyor belt, and it runs the eggs into the packer is what it is. And then the packer grabs them up 30 at a time with vacuum, suctions them up.
Oh, okay. That was what I was going to ask, because they would come in on a conveyor belt into the packing area, and we had to sort by size.
Yeah. We'll have to stand there and pick out jumbo eggs.
Okay. So those are the only ones you're not having to put something
on.
And
any broken ones or defected ones, and then if there's feathers, we'll pick feathers off and stuff like that. But we do not wash the eggs.
No.
We run them through the machine. It puts them in their flats, and it'll stack them. It even stacks them up to 180 eggs, and you just take the 180 eggs and you set them on a pallet. That's the physical labor that we have to do, and pick them up off the floor, of course. But yeah.
So that process every morning, how long does it take?
The chicken barn, the whole process.
Chicken barn from
walking in when Grandpa starts. About 2 hours.
2 hours?
Yep.
Okay, so we're noon now, right?
Yep.
Do you break for lunch?
Yeah.
Sometimes?
We usually go.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah?
Usually it's lunchtime and stuff, and or like if the boys ain't there, like that's the hard thing is when there's more people there, it's like we multitask.
Yeah.
But if the boys wasn't there, then I would go start doing all around feeding, like my heifers, my young stock, and stuff like that, and filling any water tanks that we need to do. But now if the boys are there, usually that's happening while I'm at the chicken barn.
Okay.
So, yep.
The boys, how old are they? Are they young?
Logan is 19.
Yeah, so they're
and,
big boys.
And Levi is 16.
Okay.
Yep.
So Levi's still in high school?
Levi's still in high school.
Okay.
Logan is out, and he just started Monday a new job.
Uh-oh.
So I actually just lost him, but he's still going to help me part-time.
Yeah.
Like I got to go to
Good for him.
I got to go to YF&R this weekend.
talk about
so
that.
I told him, I was like, you're milking this next weekend.
Uh-huh.
So
It is very important to have a team, a
Yes,
family,
yes.
and typically on the farm it is a family, whether they're paid or unpaid or blood or not blood, because for mental health, if nothing else, you have to be able to get away.
Yeah, you got to be able to get away, yeah. It is. It's great to have all my family there and help, and it is truly a blessing to have each and every one of them there. And the boys, like I said, they're at that age that I will say my repairs and maintenance is higher than it's probably ever been, but a lot of stuff gets broken, it seems like. But
that's par for the course. That's how you learn, right?
Yeah, I broke a lot of stuff too. So.
Yeah, you're burnt. I should have brought Grandpa in here. He'd have more stories.
Oh yeah, Grandpa. Yeah, follow him on TikTok or follow me on TikTok. He's on there sometimes.
I've not seen Grandpa.
Well, Grandpa's on there.
Okay, I'll have to listen. Okay, so where are we eating lunch? Take me through all of it.
That just
cooking?
depends.
Are you hitting the local shops?
Well, sometimes I hit the local shops sometimes, but a sandwich, you'll eat a sandwich or something like that, something quick or whatever we had the night before,
Leftovers.
Leftovers.
Yeah.
Just kind of whatever. If you need to eat something fast or if you got time or, sometimes you'll go meet your in-laws and eat lunch or, something like that.
So afternoon, when do you start all over?
In the evenings, we usually start about 5 o'clock. We get things ready. We'll run the cows up to the feeding floor because after the cows get done eating, they go out to pasture because we don't have free stalls or nothing. So ours is pasture access is what they consider it. And so 5 o'clock, we'll all go back out there and we'll mix feeds. If me and the boys is there, one of us will go mix feed. The other one will go get cows ran up, and we'll clean off whatever refusals is there, put in our little red wagon, and get a new load of feed put out. And then by 6 o'clock, we'll have the cows ran back in and start milking again.
And so you're not done milking until 8 o'clock?
Yep.
And so who's collecting eggs the second round?
My grandpa and my mom do that.
Okay.
They do most of the egg collecting.
Okay.
And
I'm
I'm just the maintenance man, pretty much,
so when
and
things break.
and the grunt work. Yeah.
Yeah. And so are you walking the lines of an evening too?
The feed lines.
For in the
Yeah, my mom actually does it in the evening.
Okay.
But we'll only pick up 30 eggs in the evening. Like right now we're getting about 130 floor eggs. And so she can handle that. She says she can handle that. Now, our last flock, we got up to like 1,300 to 1,500 eggs because they was some lazy birds. And
well, you didn't train them right.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. They was some dumb birds, apparently. But yeah, it was kind of rough, and she was kind of getting tired of that, But at night we don't get near as many eggs. We'll usually run between 10,000 and 13,000 in the morning, and then we'll finish the rest out in the evening. So the night run's pretty easy. Yep. It takes and at night, it only takes about 45 minutes to an hour to run the belt.
Okay.
So if you can
run the belt, they're laying once a day.
Yeah. So if you run that belt, full speed at night, if you've collected 13,000, you run at full speed and get it ran through in 45 minutes. And if Mom and Grandpa's both there and she walks, they can be out within an hour. And so it's really not that bad.
But the magnitude of eggs you're collecting a day.
Yeah.
It's insane.
There is quite a few, which there's a lot. I mean, there's people that collect a lot more, but.
That's, yeah. are you, I'm going back to, I'm all over the place. That's your day. That's essentially
we're all
Okay.
over the place all the time.
Yeah. So you talk about your co-op as DFA
Yep.
on the dairy side. Your milk is going to
Highland. Yep.
Okay, that's what I
Yep.
didn't know if you were allowed to say.
Yep.
So you are making my favorite French onion dip
Yep.
and my favorite chocolate ice cream.
Yep.
I don't drink milk.
Yeah.
I love all the byproducts of milk.
Yeah.
Eggs. Can you talk about your egg
We
company?
supply eggs for Pete and Jerry's is who it is,
Mm-hmm.
and they're out of like Pennsylvania, and our eggs go to the East Coast is where they're at. They're packaged as Nelly eggs.
Okay, what does that mean?
That's just the label.
Oh, it's the
that
brand.
Yep,
Okay,
the brand.
okay.
Yep.
I thought it was
So,
like this
yep.
fancy egg. I don't know.
But they are. They're the best.
They are the best,
Yeah.
but we can't even get them here.
Yeah. Well, they are. I really haven't seen them any local, but
Can you eat your own eggs? Like, can you bring a carton of eggs in and?
The ones that's damaged, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Did you grow up eating or drinking raw milk?
My grandparents used it. Yes. I did not. This is very
You don't
bad
like
to
milk?
say. Me and my mother does not drink milk.
I don't eat.
But I'm like you. I like all the byproducts.
all the byproducts: cheese,
But
ice
there's
cream.
just something about, it's like
A glass of milk.
Yeah, it doesn't. But like I said, I like everything else.
Yes.
But you got to have milk to have everything else.
Exactly.
But yeah,
Okay.
people that really flabbergast people when I tell them that.
I
And they're like,
know.
"You're a dairy farmer," and it's like I don't know what it is. It's just.
I'm with you.
But like I said, I love to milk cows, and there's a lot of people that love it and
Well,
eat
and
it.
I don't want to milk cows,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we're good. Yeah, there's got to be. There's enough demand for you not to drink milk for the milk industry to continue on. What would you say is the greatest challenge? Not your day to day, because like crap happens, flat tires, you get stuck, something breaks, and something dies.
Yeah.
But overall in the industry, what is in your actual lifetime of farming? What has been that greatest challenge?
Probably the market volatility.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the swings are so big anymore compared to what they was that, I mean, it's hard to outguess what the markets are going to do. It's like we're riding the free market out there on milk, and, it's like milk has dropped $10 a hundred within the last year. And, I mean, like there was a guy on TikTok talking about it the other day, and he milked 340 cows, and he said that the change was going to be for his salary, or not salary, but his gross income.
Yeah, gross income.
Was going to be $900,000 difference from the year previous because of milk prices. Well, that's a huge deal with, you might have been using that to pay for land, equipment, feed, fuel, and it's like whenever you can't control that, what you're getting paid, like when you work a job, you kind of know what you're going to be bringing home.
How many hours you're working that week.
But it's like when they cut your pay like that, it's like it's very hard to overcome that, and that's what gets a lot of dairy farmers in financial trouble. So
well, and I think that you talked about the Milky Way. I'm going to use your term.
Yep.
Lots and lots of small dairies, under 50 head milking. The world we live in now, you can't survive milking just a few cows and live off that milk check. So that's consolidation.
That's why we diversify.
So that's why small or dairies. Well, either kids weren't going back to the farm.
Yep.
So parents would retire and sell out, or they would. The only way to survive would be to milk more.
Yeah.
And you're still.
Yeah.
Living on that price.
And the dairy farmer's his own worst enemy. I will say this, because when milk prices are bad, you ramp up production. When milk prices are good, you ramp up production to try to fix the problem or dig yourself out of the hole that you made when it was bad. And out of all the years, it's been this way for a long time, and you would think that there would be a solution done, already, but I don't know. I'm learning more on that stuff. I mean, I really probably shouldn't talk too much about it, but like I said, I have some opinions and stuff, but I better bring that to a board meeting before I put it out here.
That's all right. So let's talk about your involvement, how you have made your voice heard, how you've got involved. You have been a member of the Lee County Farm Bureau forever, and now serving on the Missouri Farm Bureau's YF&R, Young Farmers and Ranchers. And I think
last year
retired. You're
I'm
done
a retiree.
Now. Me too. I'm out.
This year I get to enjoy
and
myself.
Show up and have
fun.
So that's through Farm Bureau is kind of how we got, even though we have the same zip code, how we got to know each other and hang out. And so Missouri Farm Bureau Young Farmers and Ranchers Conference is coming up mid-February, and so this in your role, when we think Missouri Farm Bureau, many people think insurance and insurance alone. And there's this whole other grassroots side of the organization that, internally called the federation side. And that is where they are making sure that your voice on the farm is heard at our state capitol. And then from there
to Washington,
D.C. And the impact of having your voice heard to talking to your local elected officials and beyond is important. So, we have each played different roles with Missouri Farm Bureau and still wear those hats. But in 2026, what are those key issues that those priorities that the organization is making sure that farmers at the local level are aware of?
Like this year, big thing's eminent domain, which that's a big topic every year.
We've been talking about that long time.
Like there's some fence law issues and stuff this year. Let's see, what else is there? Oh, the glyphosate Roundup. It's like that's a big deal. I think off the top of my head, that's three of the big ones and stuff. Like now over in East Missouri, they have a big problem with like the feral hogs. That's been a big topic over the last few years. And like I said, Farm Bureau just trying to help the situation. And I know that there's a lot of people that, some people say it helps, some people say it don't. But if you can, as what Ronald Reagan said, if you can agree 70% of the time, it's a win or something like that. So, but no, it truly is a grassroots organization. It starts with the members, and the members bring it to the local boards. The local boards bring it to a resolution committee. The resolution committee then talks about it, decides kind of what they think they should do. It's brought back to the members at an annual meeting and then voted on. So it's like it's an actual, all the members have a voice. You just got to show up and participate. So
you have to show up and participate. And you also have to study up and listen. You have to know what those issues are, because many of them are impacting you and you're not even paying attention.
Yeah, it's kind of like the feral hog deal. I don't live in an area that it impacts me. But, like on a TikTok that I made the other day, somebody commented about it, and I told him that I would ask some questions because it doesn't affect me like it does them. But like I said, it's...
but it could head this way.
It could head this way, and like I said, it could be bad. So it's like I'm going to, do some checking up on it, and hopefully I can help that guy or get him pointed in the right direction and, see if we can help. And if we can, great. And if we can't, then it's like... We tried.
So agriculture has been, farmers and ranchers have been involved in social media since the conception of social media. But TikTok is one of those new things. I am not a poster. I'm just a follower of people.
A silent stalker.
I'm a silent stalker.
Yep.
Oh, you have a name for me? Of us? I comment sometimes.
Yep.
So what... I'm thinking of all the comments you've made of people you've met online that have common interests that you're learning from, that are learning from you, but then the rest of the audience who doesn't know a dang thing about being a dairy farmer, and they're learning from you. So what made you decide, I am going to I'm going to venture into TikTok and not just be a silent stalker.
Yeah. I watched, guys like some of our local guys. There's Derek Chastain. There's a guy named Jarrett Simpson. There's a guy named Kyle Perkins. There's a lot of people out there.
Shout out to all those boys.
Shout out to all them guys. But so I watched them for a little bit, and I invited two of them that had never been to the Farm Bureau annual meeting. Mm-hmm. One of them accepted. He came down. And I was at a meeting the day before, because I am the county board president. Mm-hmm. And I was at a meeting, and we had our little district meeting, president district meeting. And there were some guys in there, and they're older guys. And we just got to talking about reaching the younger generation. And I mentioned TikTok, and at the time, it was China owned, and it's bad. It's just like, I was kind of shot down a little bit, and but I was like, that's the only way to reach the younger generation. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I think I'll start a TikTok, and I'm just gonna see how it goes, see how many followers I can get, and then next year at that meeting, I can say, well, I got
your own little research.
Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so Derek Chastain went with me to Farm Bureau annual meeting.
Good job, Derek.
And he helped me make my first TikTok, which your husband was in it.
I know. I was like, dude,
a lot
doesn't
of
even know what TikTok is.
All the delegates that went with us was in it.
This would have been December of this year.
The first week of December, yep. Mm-hmm. And I've made a TikTok, I believe, every day but one since then. And so it gets hard to come up with content doing the same stuff every day, but it's like... that's why I use my neighbor. It's like he's an easy target, so it's like it kind of keeps it going.
Well, okay, so where do we find you on TikTok?
Justin Raef.
Or, what's your handle?
Peck 4450.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I was going to ask you, there's got to be a story behind that. That's your nickname?
That's my nickname. A lot of people call me Peck, which Peck means half a bushel.
A bushel and a peck.
Yeah, a bushel and a peck and a hug around the neck.
Oh, it's sweeter than I thought. I thought it was going to be some dumb.
But, so I got the nickname Peck when my brother-in-law actually gave that to me.
Oh, that would be an alarm clock. I'll stop.
Oh.
Sorry, it's time to pick up my kids.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. No, you're
Do I need to keep going?
No, you just roll. It'll be fine.
Oh.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was a bushel and a peck and a hugger.
Yep.
But my brother-in-law gave me that nickname a long time ago. And everybody, it just stuck. Everybody out there on the south side of town, that's all they call me is Peck. Old Peck. And so I had that on my TikTok in the beginning, and Derek told me, he's like, people don't, a lot of people ain't going to know who you are by Peck, so you need to change it. So I put my real name out there. I really put myself out there then. And, but that is my nickname on.
Well, Justin, I'm proud of you for putting yourself out there on TikTok. I've enjoyed your reels. I've enjoyed your story. And that's why I was like, well, I have to have you into the studio to share your story, because it is a unique one, because there's just too few of us farming today and full-time farming. I like to end every sit-down with a deep, thoughtful question. What you know now at 39 years old, what would you tell 18-year-old Justin?
Watch your repairs and maintenance. No, that is a big expense we have, which I have a bad habit with tractors. I love my tractors.
Little obsession.
Yeah, I have an obsession with that, where some people's got obsessions with guns and stuff like that. Mine's probably tractors. I like my tractors. Probably just watch your what you're paying in interest on stuff, and just, I guess if I knowed now, or I knew then what I know now, I would have probably bought more land, or because everybody says that, you buy more land or built a house then, because it's like, if I want to build a house now, it's going to cost me a fortune, and it's like, oh, the house don't make me no money. It's like, so it's hard to figure that into your cash flow.
So it really is going back to the business side of farming,
Yeah.
and thinking through what that what looks like.
but yeah, and regrets. I don't know if you're kind of saying like regrets or anything like that. I have zero regrets because basically, like I said, God's opened the doors, it sounds like, to where I can be right where I need to be and with my family and everything like that. But, yeah.
So you'd still be farming?
I'd still be farming.
That's what I thought. Justin, thank you for sitting down with us. I love your hat since 1916. Follow you on TikTok at Justin Raef or Peck what?
Peck 4450.
4450. Yeah. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Beyond the Gate. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. New episodes drop every other Wednesday. For more content, follow Around the Ozarks and Beyond the Gate on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe to our daily newsletter at aroundtheozarks.com. Join us next time for more stories of grit, growth, and the spirit of rural life.